Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today's date is December 2nd, 2025. Welcome back to Oscar's Corner. Shit, guys, it's been a minute. Apologies for the long lapse and delay for me to go ahead and record something. Shit, I think it's been since the 16th. I think a couple weeks ago before Thanksgiving, I think was the last time when I recorded something. But apologies, it is Thanksgiving, the holidays, etc. So as you guys know, everybody's busy around this time. Everybody is driving around, not necessarily making time to do the extracurricular stuff like podcasts. I do have a regular 9 to 5, so obviously I do need to focus on other stuff and pivot and do the rounds of being with family and etc. So let's dive into a couple things. So number one, hell of a weekend or the past couple of weeks for freaking NFL stinking football. Number one, the Bears. Dude, where the hell did this team come from? They are doing phenomenal. They're doing good. They beat up on the Eagles, by the way, which this season, the Eagles look really sad. They don't look as effective, and I'm not sure if that has to do with the level of competition for this season, whether their guys have become complacent, whether the strength of schedule is really impacting them, or maybe teams are really scheming against them very, very well, and it's causing a major issue. But whatever that is, dude, they're not looking good. Saquon Barkley and my fantasy football team, fucking shit. Nothing. Not a damn thing. And it's pretty frustrating. The same thing also with Jonathan Taylor. These past couple of weeks, even with the Indianapolis Colts, have been a little bit of a challenge. And I've been trying to wrap my head around as to who I can bench, who I can start. And if you guys participate in fantasy football, you guys feel my pain and my torture this whole entire past couple of weeks. It's been a shit show. Honestly, this is the first season, I think, that I can honestly say watching NFL football that there is no clear favorite of who might win the whole thing. It's ever flowing, it's ever changing. One week it's the Chiefs, one week is the Indianapolis Colts. Then Daniel Jones, apparently he came out, he has some sort of issue on his foot that he's been playing through, and now it's starting to impact him. So they're relying heavily on Jonathan Taylor, which is causing a bigger issue because now people are stacking the box, and it's just a hell of a challenge. Then you have the Seattle Seahawks, who are fucking cooking right now with Chicken Mixkaba. I can't even fucking pronounce his name. The dude is phenomenal, man. He reminds me of like when the Seahawks had Tyler Lockett. I'm not sure if you guys remember who that is, but Tyler Lockett was a Seattle Seahawks wide receiver from a couple of seasons ago with Russell Wilson. And the guy was good. I mean, just go out and get it. I mean, Russell Wilson with a phenomenal arm would just fucking launch the thing, and then Lockett would just go out and grab it. And now with Sam Darnold, it's kind of turning into the same thing, a really high-flying offense. They make a lot of things happen. They have a really solid team, pretty good defense. I mean, every single team with the exception of the Arizona Cardinals, you're talking about a really strong fucking division in the NFC West. Right now being led by the Los Angeles Rams, who I do not like, by the way. I fucking hate that team. But the reason why I don't like that team, and I'm going to be very clear, very transparent here, is that I don't like the team not because they're LA, but it's because it's how the San Francisco 49ers were built to be like. And Sean McVay has found a way to make it work with his particular style. And I'm not sure if it's an ego thing or if he's able to actually delegate plays to other folks and be okay with taking a step back and not being the front runner, being the face of the franchise to some extent, but at the same time having that good balance of knowing when to pull back and ask for help and not do it all yourself. With Mr. Kyle Shanahan, who is the San Francisco 49ers coach, unfortunately, I think it's more of him just refusing to take turns or share in the responsibilities of play calls, or they might be either too complex, too complicated for him to share how they're supposed to run. Or maybe he just misses McDaniels, who is currently the head coach at the Miami Dolphins. I mean, who knows? Maybe that was his right hand that would keep him balanced and would basically question him on the plays, would call him out on some shit. And that's it. And I don't think by the looks of it, I don't think Kyle really respects anybody enough on the offensive side of the play calls that he can take a step back and let somebody else take a turn. And I think that with McDaniels, I think he saw a lot of himself in McDaniels, in the creativity and the manner that he schemed up plays and the way he did things, and it allowed him to kind of step back a little bit and see this young and up and coming future coach, who is a coach now, do great, and the schemes and draw up the plays, and it was just phenomenal. Now Sean McVay might have that in the LA. Who knows? If that is in fact true, then he's keeping that shit and that person very close to his chest, because that team is doing great. Matthew Stafford is doing great. I think he's in a potential MVP season this year. So the team just looks good. However, the dark horse in the NFC West is my beautiful San Francisco 49ers. The fucking team that, I swear, dude, it's a roller coaster ride of emotions with this damn team, and it's utterly frustrating. From the injuries that we've had throughout the entire season, which basically our defense has been completely obliterated and decimated to the fact where we're literally pulling up guys from practice squads from other teams just to backfill the positions, because a lot of our fucking guys are on IR. So you have Clelin Ferrell, who came out of nowhere. He was on our team, and he was on another team in the practice squad. The fucking guy comes back, plays one game, has 4 sacks. I mean, Mr. Ferrell, bro, why in the hell did we let you go in the first place? Were you that good to begin with? Oh, here's a tidbit. Mr. Ferrell was also in the draft with Mr. Nick Bosa, and the Raiders picked him up to be a defensive tackle. Unfortunately, the paths obviously were very different. Bosa had a very successful career, is having a very successful career, apart from the injuries. But he's doing pretty good. But Mr. Farrell's been jumping from team to team, not really been consistent. But shit, the Niners picked him up, then they let him go. Then they picked him up again, and it's looked like the guy right now is found himself, or whatever his technique or whatever desire all of a sudden was reinvigorated by him being on the potential chopping block at some point, has made my guy just completely reinvent himself, his technique, and is being successful. And with that being said, Purdy now all of a sudden has way more mobility. I'm not going to lie, when he played against the Carolina Panthers a couple weeks ago, had me fucking stressed the fuck out, because he had 3 interceptions. My guy was not looking good. It was looking rough. And the Niners won by the skin of their teeth. But again, people are like, the haters, I would say, were like, oh no, that's not the team, that the Carolina Panthers are fucking going nowhere, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden they come to play Cleveland, and they haven't won since 85 in Cleveland. Now, mind you, that number's kind of skewed, because the Niners don't play Cleveland Browns every year. It's like every other year, or every 3 to 4 years they play the team. So it's a little bit embellished or overly exaggerated, the length of time. However, it's been a long fucking time. And I think the last time the Niners played the Cleveland Browns was against Johnny Manziel, who is currently out of the league. And they kicked our butt. So they thought more of the same, and Cleveland has been reinvigorated by Mr. Shedeur Sanders, who was picked up by the Cleveland Browns as a quarterback. He has not been given the opportunity. He played 1 game against the Raiders. He did pretty good. So everybody's like, holy crap, we might have our quarterback. Then he ran into the San Francisco 49ers, who schemed up very well against him and took him to the cleaners. And they showed him, welcome to the NFL, Shedeur. I have mixed feelings about certain players that come out the gates and they're already thinking that they are much greater than they are. And I'm all for confidence. and belief in yourself and speaking it into existence because that's what you want to be like. However, the manner in which you communicate these messages needs to be a little bit better. And players like Caleb Williams, players like A.J. Brown, players like Shedeur Sanders, who come in with a lot of ego, and they haven't even set foot on the field, is a problem. Like Caleb Williams, when he came out of college, the guy's a jerk. I don't know if any of you listening know that. Right now, he's doing great and you love him because he's with the Chicago Bears. But if you really follow his trajectory of him coming out of college and during college, him specifying teams that he would play and would not play for, I mean, I'm all for knowing your worth and valuing it, but you're going into the NFL where basically the average career in the NFL is about 5 to 6 years, and eventually you disappear into the background unless you're one of those players that is consistently good or above average that teams can basically continue signing you. You know, there is quarterbacks out there that have been in the league for over a decade, bouncing from team to team. They're always a third string fucking quarterback, but they're around, dude. So there's a place for everybody. There's a good fit for everybody. You just have to find your niche, right? Your good spot. But so the weekend was great. The Niners played the Cleveland Browns. They won 26-8. Right now, they are currently placed at number 7 if the playoffs were to start this week, which is good. However, it's nobody's game. The NFC division is up for grabs. You have Chicago Bears as ranked number 1 currently right now in the NFC. But that shit could change because then you have the Eagles sitting at number 2, but their record is not too far off. I think they're 9-3. And then you have the Niners 9-4, Rams 9-3, Green Bay 9-4. So this weekend, it's up for grabs. There's going to be such a freaking switch and a shuffle of positions and rankings this week that's going to really determine the playoffs. That is going to be nuts. So if you're not a San Francisco 49er fan, but you just enjoy sports and you just enjoy the NFL in general, and you don't have a team to root for right now, I really recommend that you watch the games this weekend because they are going to be fun. There's nothing more exciting than when you watch a sport that everybody's fighting for a spot in the playoffs. This is when men become fucking athletes, dude. This is like when the guys get paid that money. This is why. This is game time. This is why you give somebody a $30 million contract. This is why you give those guarantees. This is why you're putting up with their shit like A.J. Brown being a little baby with Jalen Hurts talking about he wants him to pass him the ball every fucking 5-10 seconds. But dude, you have to realize you have to spread the ball and there's other players other than you. But A.J. Brown is a wide receiver, and there's certain positions in professional football that tend to be a little bit more unique, all right? Just how in soccer, goalkeepers tend to be very different. And I mean by that, they self-motivate, they're very driven, they're very cocky sometimes, super confident in their abilities, they're super hyper-competitive, they're built differently. So if you have somebody who plays a sport and they're a goalkeeper, that guy's different, very different. There is no other position that you can say, it's all on me. And when I block it, I pass, and I did my job. I'm doing my job. If I let a goal pass by me, I'm failing. I mean, it's hit or miss, and you got to have thick skin and weather that shit. You got to shake off that first goal, say, fuck it, I'm not going to allow any more. My team has to do the rest, and go from there. Now, in the NFL, you got wide receivers because you're in the limelight. You catch the ball, you score the touchdowns. You are on the Wheaties box. You are the face of franchises if you're having a phenomenal game, right? But that's where it's been. But again, these past couple weeks, I don't want to dive in too much into the sports because I don't want to bog everybody down for the past 15 minutes speaking on sports, but it's something I'm passionate about, as you can tell. Also, for the returning listeners, thank you very much for hanging on. I appreciate it. The last video is doing pretty fucking well, actually. We're about 7,000 views on that one. The likes are hit or miss. I knew the content, I knew the topic was going to be triggers for a lot of folks. Anytime you touch on the LGBTQ community, you're gonna have mixed reactions. And I get it. Anytime you touch on race, there are just certain triggers and certain things that people just either want to hear and they welcome it, or they don't and they dislike it, or they don't like your content, or they don't like your tone. It is what it is. Like I've explained 1,000 times before, this podcast is a raw, unfiltered. I'm not writing shit down. I'm speaking from the hip. I'm talking from like just flowing. We're having a normal conversation. This is what this channel is. If you want something scripted, there's plenty of other channels and podcasts that you can listen to. If you want something completely unfiltered, unscripted, something that maybe you can relate to, as a matter of fact, that it's just raw, a very raw perspective and very blunt, I guess you could say, about certain positions and certain things, and you're in the right channel. And if I'm finding my niche and speaking to you directly, thank you. Please share, continue subscribing, continue liking. So, how was Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving was absolutely a blessing and a blast. I had my family come over, and then we had ham, we had pecan bars, homemade, which is phenomenal, jalapeno cornbread. We had delicious stuffing. We had wonderful turkey that my wife decided to do it in a different way that we haven't done before. And before, we normally inject the turkey as you go, and I'm not sure if a lot of you do the same thing when you inject a turkey to just kind of tenderize the meat. This one was a little bit different. My wife actually, we brined it for about a couple days, about 48 hours. And then we put all the juices and everything, after we got it all prepped, we put it in a bag. And then with all the juices, all the vegetables, all the veggies, all the brine, everything inside this bag, and we baked it for about 4.5 hours at slow cooking. Damn, that thing got bronze. It was a perfect color. I wish I could have taken a damn picture, but you know, I don't want to flood social media with turkey pics because that's what everybody fucking does, but I can't help it. I didn't do it though. And I kid you not, guys, that shit was falling off the bone. Like, you could literally grab a damn chicken leg or a turkey leg, shake it up, and the meat would just plop off. And it was fully cooked. It was absolutely delicious. It was tender to the point where it didn't taste like turkey. It just tended like a really tender steak or it just tasted fucking good. It was delicious. But that was it. And then, you know, my in-laws came over, and we just had a really wonderful time watching great games. And that's when the fantasy football shenanigans started, with the ups and downs, the teams beating the teams they weren't supposed to beat, the game of freaking upsets. I mean, it's just been fun. It's been a really blessed past couple weeks. Now we're heading into Christmas. Finally set up the Christmas lights outside of our house. Let's see how the damn electricity bill looks after this shit, but damn. And I don't know about you guys, but is it me, or is it like a yearly competition when people get into the holiday, I can't talk right, the holiday lights festivities, dude? I mean, fuck, dude, it's like, shit. I mean, I thought I did a lot by putting stuff around my house. And we have a 2-story home, and we decorated the 2 stories of the house with lights, and we put stuff in front of our lawn, and we decorated it a bit, and we put wreaths at the border of the house with poinsettias. It's a very classy look. It's not new, it's not flashy with the fucking sounds and the projector and all that type of shit, but it's classy to me. I like it. I like that look. I don't like it when it's just over the top. Some people like it when it's just redonkulous. But damn, dude, I've seen some videos of people have done some absolutely incredible creative displays that I'm just like, dude, tell me you are not a performer on your real job, or some sort of electrician or something like that, that you don't do this shit for a living, because the creativity that it takes for these people to do what they do with these homes is absolutely commendable, and I give them mad props for that. But we're in the season, so top things that people want for Christmas, I don't know, this is when things get get challenging. You know, I mean, shit, you ask your kids what they want and they want everything and everything in between. You ask your parents, they don't care what the hell you give them. But that is what it is. But it's been interesting. It's going to be an even more interesting past couple of weeks. I'm going to try my hardest to really do 2 podcasts this fucking week, dude, because once we start getting into the middle of the week, people start taking vacations. And it just becomes a little bit more difficult for me to record content and actually put things up here. But I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but I did want to take a moment to give a special shout out to my nephew, Leonardo, and his wonderful wife, Monse. I'm not going to say their last names, but they just welcomed a beautiful little baby girl into the world, and we are all excited. We're all stoked. The baby looks like the mom and him. They're both beautiful people. The little girl's going to be absolutely gorgeous. So I wish him nothing but the utmost health and blessings, and we're here for him. But apart from that, some of the things that I saw on the news these past couple of weeks and a couple of triggers. I'll start with the most recent one, and that is the tragic news that happened in Southern California. Apparently there's a tree company that was doing some tree trimming in LA, and if some of you know the story, then you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But it just so happens that the gentleman was trimming a palm. He either lost his balance or didn't properly secure himself, and he fell from the palm tree, and unfortunately he impaled himself on a wrought iron fence. And obviously he passed away. And all I can say is, to you that's out there listening, or you're driving and you're going home, or you're working outdoors, you know, they tell you often and many times that you always say a prayer or something positive before you walk out the door, and always say something positive to those you care about. Don't go to sleep angry. Don't go upset. No, don't go to bed upset with your kid or your child or your wife or your spouse or even your parents, because the following day you don't know if that conversation you've had with those individuals will be the last one. And all I can think about is, for this person, this gentleman that passed away, is what conversations he had yesterday. You know, what plans was he making on the weekend with certain people? What promises was he saving up for the holidays? Where was he planning on going for Christmas? Who did he spend time with on Thanksgiving? Did he have children? How old were his kids? Things like that. Were him and his wife fighting? Or it's just a lot of shit that you really think about that is just absolutely tragic. And you really don't know what's going to happen when you walk out the door. And it's always a good practice to, even if you don't want to or you're against it, to at least text or mention to somebody you care about. Just tell them good morning. Tell them you love them. Tell them that you appreciate them. Just say that often. And try not to go to sleep angry. And those of you who are in a relationship, if you and your spouse are arguing about financial shit, trust me, it's bigger. Bills are going to come in every way, shape, or form. How you pay them and whether you pay them, those are little details that honestly, they're smaller than the relationship that both of you have. And that goes with you and your kids. If your kids accidentally, break something in the house that you valued and you're fucking pissed off because it cost you X amount of money, while you might get angry and it might be difficult for you to forgive them at that moment in time, just try to look back and think that maybe when you were a kid, you did the same stupid shit. You're not immune to not making mistakes. You make mistakes at work all fucking day. Some of which maybe you are able to cover up for yourself so you don't get caught. But we all make mistakes at work. We make mistakes while we're driving. We make mistakes every day. We're not perfect. We're human beings. So sometimes let's pause before we snap and we go to bed upset, and try to have an honest conversation with somebody, whether it's something small. If you're not the type of person that is able or willing or capable to have a conversation with your spouse in a passionate manner or a meaningful manner, say something silly. Like, hey, love you, my bad, I fucked up today, something like that. But just have some sort of intention from you to them or from them to you that, okay, we're going to squash this, we're going to have this conversation tomorrow. Or plain and simply tell the individual or your partner, be like, hey, look, this conversation is not going to go well. I don't see us coming to terms with whatever it is we're arguing about, but I think we both need to pause and cool and just calm the fuck down, and let's discuss this tomorrow or at a later time when both of us are calm. Now, if it's something fucking egregious that you've done or your partner has done, then it's a whole different conversation, but it's very far few in between. The majority of arguments that happen within relationships are typically about finances, generally when couples live together. That's usually the biggest fucking argument. What did you spend on? Why are you spending so much money on fucking Amazon? And if you are co-parenting, there's usually the drama with the baby daddy or the baby mama or the ex-wife, you know, or the ex-husband. There's that type of shit. We're entering the holidays where shit gets squirrely. People want to spend more time with their kids, and it's like a pissing contest about who the kid needs to spend more time with. So, with that being said, we are in the holidays, treat it as such, and this is the time where we all have to come to terms and have peace. And that's the main point. But apart from that, I did see a video that went viral a couple weeks ago, and I'm not sure if some of you listening know what this video was referring to. So this happened in, I think Chicago. Yeah. So, and apologies if I butcher your name, but Sherwanda Hatter, 33, identified herself as the mom who was cornered and attacked as she tried to walk home Monday morning with her 9-year-old son and younger daughter from Orville Bright Elementary School. And if you guys know what this story is, you guys know exactly what happened. So the video basically went viral because a couple of kids and hoodlums, I like to call them, they were recording them bullying this young child, and with the mom there, zero respect for an adult and for a human being, right? And the kids basically at one point just began just saying evil things, bad things to the mom, really horrible things to the son, absolutely zero disregard or respect for the fact that that kid is with his mom. And eventually, one of these children in particular, this 13-year-old, proceeded to pull the adult's hair, her weave, and then punched her in the face. And then the other kids continued recording, more punches were thrown, the poor little kid was thrown on the ground. It was just utterly disrespectful. It's a tough video to watch because if you're a parent or if you're somebody that would have stepped in, you're one of those things where you're like, you know what, I don't give a fuck if I go to jail. I will smile in the mugshot, and you're going to start punching the shit out of these fucking kids and defending yourself. This woman did not. She took the beating, and then they ran away, and then the video went viral, and somehow the mom of the girl who instigated this whole incident decided to go live on Facebook or on a social media platform, I'm not sure, where she basically forces her teenager to apologize on video for her actions and her behavior. It sounds good, right? Wrong. So we all know, we have nephews and nieces and our own kids ourselves, and we know when they're being apologetic and it's being sincere, and when they are forcing themselves to say things they really don't care about, or they don't grasp the consequences of their behavior. And when this little girl was saying her piece, it just seemed very fake. She was smiling in the background. So of course people started trolling and going off on the chats and the arguments saying, hey, you know, your little girl's lying. The mom was getting pissed off. And at the end, the mom kind of showed her true colors. And it kind of makes you think why this little girl acts as she was. And the mom's response was, you know, I don't give an F about what you guys think about my daughter. I'm raising my kid right. She's an honor roll student. She does this, that. Basically painting her daughter as this magnificent little tiny human being who just had a one-off incident, and this was never, ever going to happen. First of all, I don't know who the hell you're lying to, and quit lying to yourself and quit lying to the public. Your daughter's behavior is a reflection of you, ma'am. And the manner in which you speak and you communicate and you convey your message and your reasoning why your daughter acted the way she did is a reflection of you, and we can see it, and it's all for social media to see. Now, mind you, this happened in the south side of Chicago, which is not necessarily what's the best way I can put it? It's not a neighborhood you basically want to be walking around at night. It's one of those neighborhoods that during the daylight, you're probably safer than at nighttime, but either or, kind of you're rolling the dice unless you live there. And it's a really poverty-stricken neighborhood. There's a lot of low-income housing and a lot of low-income parents, okay? And that is not a reason, or does not give you the green light to raise kids like that. And I know not every child that has been raised in a low poverty situation has those type of manners. I mean, the shit that you're allowing for your daughter to do, and you're enabling to some extent, is very confusing, because you're trying to teach her accountability, and you want her to go on social media and acknowledge what she did was wrong. But I think that at that point, it doesn't really seem sincere, because why in the hell did it get to this point? What type of upbringing, what type of teaching have you done with your daughter for her to think that it's okay to strike another adult human being? Not somebody her age, an adult. Let alone a child who is literally trying to protect himself, holding on to his mother for dear life so he doesn't get bullied. And now they're both being bullied. The level of cruelty that it takes for a human being to strike a younger child, knowing that that child is scared shitless of you. They are hiding under their mom's skirt, literally, and you still attack them. Let me give you a perspective. That's like you seeing a little pup, a dog, and you kick the puppy on purpose. It starts running away. That right there off the bat, you shouldn't be doing that, right? But let me proceed. You see the little puppy going to the mama dog who appears to be ill or sick, and it's obviously very docile and not very aggressive, and you kick them both. And you continue to strike them. If people saw that shit in real life, you'd get your ass in jail. But how in the hell does that kid have that fucking level of mentality that they think that that's all right? Something's fucked up. And it's either with the mom or that kid, because this kid, this 13-year-old, is eventually going to become adult and have kids of her own. So this whole entire cycle, this whole entire teaching is going to continue. So that little shitty human being is going to raise other little shitty human beings, and you're going to have a whole village of little shitty human beings in this family. And that's where I have a major fucking problem. That's why, for me, it triggers me on so many levels, because one, how did that girl get to that point? Because she's a child. So she must have learned that behavior from somebody to think it's okay. For her to think it's okay to have a power trip and bully someone to that extent tells me that that kid is super insecure, needs validation of power, and needs attention. That could probably mean that that kid comes home, raises themselves. The mom is probably not home, whether she's working or out partying herself, or the mom is too busy doing extracurricular activities, whatever that might be, whether it's drinking or smoking or partying with her homegirls and leaving her kids at home. Because that happens too. where you have a gang of siblings, the older sibling, fucked it, mom is gonna go to the club, I'll be back in a few hours, take care of your kids, there's food in the stove, if there's any, if they actually bother cooking. Or they tell you there's a box of cereal and shit, or here's some money, order some food, or go to the neighbors next door. And then you have a gang of kids, 5 or 8 kids out in the middle of the fucking night being unsupervised and raising themselves and doing stupid shit. And the other side of it, and I'm going to dive right into it, is the ethnicity and the group of kids that this was. And it fits every stinking stereotype that you can think of. In the ghetto, Chicago, poverty, low-income housing. You're going to immediately start developing your own narrative in your own mind of what it is. And we go back to step 1. So where every sort of communication or advancement or progress this person or this group is making, it took 30 steps back. Because there's other people from middle America that are never exposed to this, that are going to see this video. And guess what? They're going to see a group of kids of that particular ethnicity. And guess what those parents are going to do? They're going to hold on to their purses a little bit tighter, or they're going to avoid those badass kids. It's just infuriating to see the level of malarkey, you know what I mean, of bullshit that we see day in and day out. So that really triggers, and it ties into parenting and how we're raising our kids. And I go back to one other aspect of something that I want to talk about. So I'm going to tell you guys a story. And this story is about a young child. And this young child was born out of wedlock. The mom and dad, they had the little boy fairly young. And the mom had substance abuse issues. And the dad was in and out of jail, a little bit of a troublemaker himself, a little bit irresponsible, try to get his life together. However, during that time, he was still transitioning from being a father and being present to letting go of his bad habits. This particular young child was raised this way, growing up and seeing these behaviors from his parent. And the mom eventually, decided that she couldn't do it anymore. Her substance abuse got so much to the point that she couldn't focus. She didn't feel right raising her child in this type of behavior. Mind you, she had another daughter, and she felt that she just couldn't do it. She couldn't manage having 2 kids. And because the family support from the parent, from the dad of this particular gentleman, was a little bit more sound and a little bit more stable, she had a conversation with the father and say, I need you to take your son and raise him because I can't do it. And so with an open heart, the dad says, yeah, that's fine. By this time, he already had 2 kids of his own with another marriage. He said, hey, I'm in a stable place. Let me talk to my wife and let her know about the situation, that I'm going to bring my son over. By this time, he's probably like around 10 or 11 years old. And introduce him to his 2 kids. They're probably like a year and a half apart. And come in and stay with them. And I tell you this, that the level of anger and frustration that little boy had at such a young age was absolutely tragic. But you knew where it came from. I mean, this kid would get in fights every single day in elementary school. And he always has been, even to this day, a person that he hides pain with a smile, like many of us do. And if you see past the smile, you'll see a lot of anger, a lot of rage still, him trying to cope with his emotions better, and there's still challenges that he's still working through. But this is where parenting comes into play. He was able to overcome that because of the support and the parenting that he received. He was able to overcome that behavior himself and that tendency to follow down the same bad habits. He was able to change. He was able to focus on certain things and a better life for himself and a better future and break the norm. Now, mind you, it's still not perfect, but do I see him in particular doing this stupid shit like this 13-year-old was doing? No, absolutely not. Because there was that fear of, at home, you are not going to be okay treating an adult this way. But because it was not allowed and it was clearly communicated that there was crossing the line, that he learned and adapted what not to do. However, you see kids like this little girl in Chicago who obviously is not getting that. And the manner in which she's getting that is not it. It's not it at all. And the other thing too is, let's get in the habit of teaching our kids how to be a better version of you as the adult. And a lot of us don't do that. A lot of us tend to want to teach our kids the hustle, the game, the play. You're basically teaching them to basically have cheat codes and how to navigate through life, cutting corners and victimizing themselves instead of taking accountability for their actions. Why are you getting bad grades? Because you're not doing your homework. Why do you have bad health habits? Well, because you're not taking care of yourself. I mean, there's a lot of things we can navigate through this shit, but like this video in particular, it really fucking triggered me and it made me think of all that stuff that we spoke about before. And I've mentioned other videos as well and some of the stuff has gone viral. Some of the stuff you can find online of people like doing interviews. And this is another trigger for me, dude. And if you guys have daughters and you guys are teaching your kids this shit, I really hope that you are able to reach these young women to do the right shit and not talk stupid and make yourself look like a complete ass on camera. So there's another new norm that I'm noticing. There's a lot of these interviews that are impromptu interviews of young men that have these podcasts or impromptu channels that are walking around either on Sunset Boulevard or some pier somewhere in downtown LA. And then they interview these 20-something year olds and ask them the most ridiculous questions, some of which might be inappropriate, such as, oh, tell me what's the craziest thing you've done in bed? What's the craziest thing somebody's done to you? What are you the most proud of? Tell me what happened with your ex, right? Now, again, I get that people want to have triggers and clicks, right? So the more viral, the more stupid shit you sound, the more crazy you look. For example, the Haktua girl made millions of dollars out of the most ridiculous fucking comment. And if you guys really look back and think about the actual interview and the answer to that thing, let's just say if that had been something that my daughter has spoken on camera, it's some shit that I would be on the phone with her and telling her, what the fuck are you doing talking like that? Who taught you how to talk that way? And how to belittle yourself or how to demean yourself or how to undervalue yourself. Have some fucking self-respect. We didn't bring you to this world to be a second-class citizen and to undervalue yourself. Know your worth as a woman and respect yourself. You're not going to be taking fucking a step back to anyone. You're going to be on par with your partner. You're going to be a team. You're not going to be that person that's going to be like, oh no, they're going to provide and I'm just going to be the stay-at-home wife and do this and do that. No, fuck that. Their mom doesn't do that. So I don't expect them to do that either. I want them to be, and we are raising young women. And if you are out there and you have young little girls like yourself, teach them that. Because some of these videos that I'm seeing, dude, are the most stupidest shit. It's honestly fucking infuriating. So there was one in particular that, and of course it's my Latino people that I love and cherish, but you know, this girl was like a chola, like a little gang member. And they asked her, and obviously they were inebriated, and it was a group of 3. And they asked one of them, oh, you know, what happened with your ex? And then her comment was, oh, he cheated on me with my friend, and now they have a baby, but their baby's ugly, blah, 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 blah. The point is that everything that she was spewing out of her mouth was just diarrhea, okay? There was absolutely no content, no intelligence behind it. It was just somebody who was just very salty, that they were in a very bad relationship with somebody, and they were unfaithful with their friend. And it's comments like that frustrate me, because those individuals like that really exist. And they're going to have their own families. They're going to have extensions of themselves. They're going to have their own kids. They're going to have their own couples. They're going to have their own marriages. And this is what the fuck we're creating. And the one thing that I notice more and more and more, and it's a very interesting subject that I'll dive into hopefully next week if I have the opportunity, and that is Syops. If you guys don't know what Syops is, it's a term that's used in the military. And there is a very popular podcaster out there right now who has a phenomenal Syops-based theories. And he has a lot of basis behind it. He has a lot of foundations, a lot of studies, a lot of research behind Syops, to the point that it makes you rethink and reevaluate the information that's being provided to you, and how it's designed to manipulate a reaction out of you to what the creators want you to do. And I will give you one example, and I'm shooting from the hip here because I have to Google it, but I'm running short on time and I don't want to do that. But so before the United States joined the Iraq War, there was a young lady who went to the UN, and you guys can Google her. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me see, UN girl, Iraq. Fake. All right, here we go. All right. Miss, and you guys can Google this, the 15-year-old Nayira Al-Sabah. She gave her testimony back in October 10th, 1990, 2 months after the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. So she provided a testimony, who was, at that time, she presented herself as having been a volunteer nurse at Kuwait Hospital at the time of the Iraqi invasion. And in the testimony that she went in front of the U.S. Congressional Human Rights Caucus on October 10th, all right? So let me put this in perspective. So she goes in front of live TV, C-SPAN TV, in 1990, October 10, in front of the United States Congressional Human Rights Caucus. This young lady pleads her case, saying, hey, I am a witness, I am a volunteer nurse in Kuwait, and I can tell you all the atrocities that were done by the Iraqi government in the invasion of Kuwait. She claimed to have witnessed Iraqi soldiers taking babies out of incubators and doing really, really bad stuff before looting the incubators and leaving the babies on the floor. And it's just really, really twisted shit, right? So if you didn't know, you would hear this testimony, you're going to be thinking, damn, Iraq really has a lot of mental issues. A lot of people are fucked up. We need to go to war. Now, again, this is in 1990, folks, all right? So just simmer down. Don't fucking go batshit crazy on the comments, all right? And then so she does this shit, and then she was cited numerous times in the United States Senate and by American President George H.W. Bush to contribute the rationale of pursuing military action against Iraq. What that means is that the United States Senate and Mr. President Bush used her story as a platform in which they wanted the United States to go to war against Iraq. Because her portrayal of the Iraqi war and crimes were aimed at, it just increased global support for Kuwait against the Iraqi occupation during the Gulf War. So we went to war, and the rest is history. Now, you might say, Oscar, how the fuck is this a psyop? Well, this is in 1990. We're already in war, all right? Then in January of 1992, 2 years later, even after we're already in this shit, it was revealed that Miss Nayira had never been a nurse and that she was the daughter of Saad Nasser Al Saud Al Sabah, the Kuwaiti ambassador to the United States at the time the testimony was made. She and her father were members of the House of Sabah, the ruling family of Kuwait. Furthermore, it was revealed that her testimony was organized as a part of a wider public relations campaign conducted by the Kuwaiti government in exiles Citizens for a Free Kuwait, which sought, this was their goal, to encourage American military involvement against Iraq's occupation of Kuwait through coordination with the American public relations firm Hill and Knowlton. In the aftermath of the Gulf War, the Nayira testimony came to be regarded as a classic example of modern atrocity propaganda. Let me relay that shit to you one more time. And I love ending this podcast on shit that's going to make you fucking think. This was an orchestrated event, a coup, an attack, bullshit ass shit that they put on social media to pan to the masses so they feel bad and have support from the American people that, damn, maybe Kuwait does need to be protected and maybe Iraq does need to be handled and taken care of because it's obvious they're doing some crazy shit out there. Mind you, this was orchestrated by the ruling family of Kuwait, who are being invaded. And they coordinated a public relations with the American government because part of the American government wanted to go to war, but they needed majority support to do so. Guess what? They got it. The ambassador's daughter, this fucking guy, puts his daughter out there to conjure up some bullshit ass testimony to pan to the masses, and here we are. I mean, this is not fucking making that up. I mean, you guys Google it right now. Google it right now. I dare you. Nayira testimony. Nayirah testimony. In the United States Congressional Human Rights Caucus, October 10th, 1990. Read that shit for yourself. And this is the stuff that This gentleman in this podcast talks about the psyops, the manipulation of the media, the stuff that they want you to see, how they spin stories. This ties into the racial triggers that I spoke about in the previous podcast, that they only tell you certain triggers for you to immediately forget the actual fucking story and what it is. The George Floyd, what were their main racial triggers? Black person killed by white cops. With the stuff that happened with Colin Kaepernick, anti-government, anti-cop, anti-patriotism. He's a minority himself. We aren't able to address the problems because there is a filter, a global filter in the United States of America that they only want you to see and hear what they deem appropriate for you and whatever that narrative is. And this can go both ways. This was false testimony conjured up because they wanted to go to war. The same could be done the other way. They could have a testimony of saying, oh my gosh, the United States government is doing this, blah, 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 way more than this person. Let's pull the troops and basically send them back home. It's how you spin it. So now as we get older with social media influence, this is more of a call to action for you as a parent, as a teenager, niece, nephew. And this is why I preach this shit. And my nephews say it all the time. Okay? Do your research. Don't just shoot out of pocket. Don't just talk out of turn. Actually have some basis in which you're speaking about. There's always two sides to every story. It's okay to ask the question why and do your research and get validation that way. It doesn't mean that you're going to immediately go out there and contradict the person just to be an asshole. But it's always good to just nod and smile. In the back of your mind, you know the truth. And maybe you can pull that person aside. Hey, I noticed that you spoke on this topic, but did you look into it further? Let me show you the information that I have and see what the response is. But anyways, the PSYOPs thing, it is a fucking real thing because it is something that the U.S. government has used often throughout history. Google Hill and Knowlton, and you're going to be absolutely fucking amazed as to what this company is. Okay. I'll give you a quick one. Okay. So, the company that became Hill and Knowlton Strategies was founded in 1927 by newspaper reporter and businessman John Hill in Cleveland, Ohio. His first two clients were Cleveland-based Union Trust Company and the Otis Steel Company. When Union Trust Company was shut down by the Great Depression in 1933, Hill hired its former director of advertising and publicity, Don Knowlton, and they together established Hill and Knowlton of Cleveland. What they did, the company represented the dairy industry during congressional debates on margarine regulation in the 1940s. Other early clients included the tobacco industry. So the gentleman he represented the tobacco industry. And if you guys want to know what he represented and how he was able to manipulate that situation, I'll give you a quick synopsis of what he did. So when the tobacco industry, when it was being found that the contents within tobacco, the nicotine, had a potential to give you cancer and that it had addictive tendencies and all that. Basically what Mr. Hill and Knowlton did was they created a public relations blast in which they said, well, we have our own scientists that say that it may become addicting and it may give you cancer. Never not validating it, but downplaying it. So of course, people that are already consumed by it, people that are already addicted to it are kind of like, well, it said it might kill me, but it's not really saying that it will. And then they're doing their own research as well, and they're saying that, hey, that's not necessarily true. So with that being said, they won the argument and tobacco ended up getting what it got. The popularity that it did. So just be mindful of Syops. There's a couple things that I want to do also in the podcast, but it's been 1 hour on this episode. Damn, I thought it was going to be like 30 minutes. Look at that. Fuck, time flies when you're having fun. All right, everybody. So the time is 6:05. I will leave you with this. Please be safe, be well, self-love. Love you all. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I know a lot of people have liked the videos and have not liked them. I want to know more about why you didn't like the content and what you didn't like about the video. I want to know more because, again, I want to cater this channel. I want to tweak it and adjust it and modify it to an audience that people are going to be open to it. Like I said, this is a very raw and unfiltered perspective. So let's engage, let's talk, let's have a conversation. So thank you so very much. Be well and good night.